Our first of this afternoon's speakers is Ben Chapman. Ben is a UX developer at the Library of Vic Uni here in Wellington. Ben's talk, Seeking Better Search, aims to shed light on how we can improve life online for people using databases and catalogs by producing better, more intuitive interfaces for exploratory search. Awesome, really excited. Here we are with Ben.
All right, kia ora koutou katoa. Ko Ngāti Pākehā tōku iwi. E noho ana e mahai ana au i te whanganui atara. I raro i te marumaru o te ahu mairangi. I te taha o ngā wai o te whanganui atara. Ka mihi au ki te mana whenua o te rohi nei. Ko Ben Chapman tōku ingoa. Ko te kai whaniki whia ko kai whakamahi ahau i te pātako kōrero o te herenga waka. Ngā mihi, ngā mihi. Hello everyone, and thank you for attending my talk, Seeking Better Search. My name is Ben Chapman. I am in Wellington, where I live and work, under the shelter of Te Ahu Mairangi Hill and by the waters of Te Whanganui Atara Harbour. So here in Wellington, I work at the Library of Victoria University of Wellington, where I'm the UX developer. And one of my key jobs at the library is to take our various vast repositories and archives of information and make it easier for users to get that information out. And as always, the central portal into the library's collection and all the information that it holds is the good old catalogue. And here is our catalogue. Needing a bit of a spruce up perhaps, but not entirely unlovely, I hope. Now catalogues these days are much more than they used to be. In most cases, the catalogue can take you directly to an item, not just give you a call number, as well as offering you many other functions. And the search is much improved. Catalogues generally use a so-called faceted system where you can drill down to an item quite precisely by filtering your search by multiple categories. Again, there's nothing surprising here. This is what you would expect the catalogue to be doing in this day and age, and you'd be disappointed if it wasn't. However, in the UX research we've done at the library, we have consistently found that there is a cohort of users who are choosing to go to Google Scholar rather than using our expensive catalogue and discovery system. And here's Google Scholar, doing the same search, getting slightly different results. So, as the person responsible for delivering the best user experience for our catalogue, I have to ask myself, why are some people choosing Google over our system? And what can we do to make our system more appealing? Well, let's take a little look at modern search. Okay, so we all know that searching isn't simply about matching keywords and their occurrences. Behind the scenes, the search engine is ranking the results based on its mysterious algorithm, with the goal of directing you to the result with the very best fit to your search, based on any number of factors, such as popularity, relevance, credibility, as well as your own search history. So algorithm-powered search can be extraordinarily powerful, and the better the algorithm, the better the search. I won't try to get into the details of search algorithms, you'll be pleased to know, but instead I'll quickly talk about a couple of examples of developments in search algorithms that I think are interesting. So a search algorithm relies on data, and there is an intriguing example of data that is somewhat open to the public. If you use Netflix, you'll know that their library is divided up into categories or genres, much like an old video store, and as well there are subcategories. However, it's not enough for Netflix to know their movies and shows down to the subgenres. They need much more fine-grained detail in this for their search and recommendations. So to be able to more precisely categorize movies, Netflix did this wonderful and rather deranged thing. They created ever more specific genres, microgenres, tens of thousands of them apparently. Now it might have been slightly subtle, but I've changed the screenshot on the slide to show some of the more wildly specific genres. If you can't see the screens, an example is Oscar-winning, visually striking movie from the 1970s. So not really a genre, that one. Okay, and while there is a human process going on here, with the genres chosen by actual humans and being meaningful, I mean, I'd watch a movie from any of these microgenres, except maybe sentimental movies about horses, but I would never browse these as categories. I mean, they really only exist as data points for the algorithm. Okay, sadly, I think Netflix have actually wound back this approach and instead use more general genres now. And also, for all the effort by Netflix, I could scroll through their recommendations for ages and not find anything I want to watch. Which brings me to my next example. Of all the attention-begging algorithms, TikTok probably has a reputation for being the most able to pinpoint a user's likes, however quirky. The app has been described as being able to almost read minds. Its recommendations are so creepily intimate. Users have reported that TikTok is able to look deep into their past and discern things they keep secret, such as medical conditions, or reveal things about themselves, proclivities, whatever, that they weren't aware of themselves before TikTok pointed them out. And TikTok is able to do this because a TikTok user can consume so many videos in one setting. TikTok learns about you not just from the movies that you choose to watch, but the you choose to not watch, and the ones which you only watch halfway through. All of this builds a psychographic profile of you, not just as a user of TikTok, but as a person, as a personality, which is then used to recommend you more videos. Okay, so I hope these examples give you a sense of the level of innovation and progress in the field of algorithm-based search and recommendation. I've listed here a few attributes of modern search. Search is precise, that is the whole purpose, to shave off the less relevant information to get to the good hits. And it is learning how to be better by refining its data and how it uses it. I've noted here that it is conclusive, by which I mean a search basically has an endpoint, where you have found what you want or close to it, or perhaps you didn't find it, but at any rate, the search is resolved. Search is also becoming increasingly personalized as it gathers more of our personal data and gets better at analyzing it. And it is increasingly seamless. You may have noticed for the two examples that I gave of Netflix and TikTok, you can be served up hits without even having to search. So Google and Google Scholar is really accurate. That's what my search has to compete with. Though in fact, having set up this comparison, I don't actually mind too much if some people are using Google Scholar. I want them to get to the content. And if Google does that for them, and that's all they want, then that's okay. Perhaps I should just be letting Google do what it does best, and instead thinking of how I can develop a catalog search that does something that Google doesn't. Look, all these points about modern search, they apply for the kind of search they are set up for. But this kind of search only addresses one need, is what we might call lookup search, where you're trying to find something, some information, an answer to a question. But this is not the only need when it comes to search. The other need is not to find something, but to discover something, or build a collection of information or knowledge. This is a search where the goal is not necessarily certain when you start, but might become more apparent as you search. Here you are not trying to narrow your search down to one item or several ranked items, but you may actually be wanting to broaden your search. A fairly straightforward example of this in the academic field is a literature review, where you are trying to gather a collection of reliable sources covering a subject. Or consider this example, where you have received a diagnosis of a medical condition for yourself or a family member, and a search for information about this might cover details about the condition, as well as treatments, support services, information about medication. And sometimes the information you gather might be quite interdependent and not as informative just by itself, such as financial data and information to support your investment portfolio. This type of search, exploratory search, contrasts directly with lookup search in many ways. Where a lookup search ideally wants one perfect result, exploratory search wants a fuzzier range of results. Exploratory search relies less on algorithm recommendations and more on user choices. And an exploratory search may be an ongoing search returned to again and again, refined with new information. Now, one aspect of lookup search that doesn't have a clear analog with an exploratory search is seamlessness, which I'd like to talk about a little bit later. So how will all these contrasting aspects of exploratory search look like when built into a system? I'll try and go through them one by one pretty quickly. Okay, so the presentation of results requires a rather different approach to lookup search. To begin with, the deep filtering to narrow the focus to a few good results needs to change, as you may need to gather a wider range of results. And turning the focused result into a broad result will require an approach of maximizing relevant hits rather than minimizing irrelevant hits. Also, less importance should be given to ranking results. Some sort of ordering is inevitable, but the search algorithm shouldn't be deciding for the user how they should be measuring the significance of the results. Including semantic information allows the connections and relationships between results to be understood. And I've noted here that query expansion can be used to broaden a search, whereas in lookup search, it is usually used to clarify. And by query expansion, I mean with the search function will present you with suggested alternatives or corrections to your search terms. So moving on then to how the search is managed. So while the user should have more control over the search, some sort of evaluation of relevance has to be performed by the algorithm in coming up with recommended results. But then the user can browse amongst the results or the filters, and it can adjust the search, which may cause it to evolve. I see this as a kind of dialogue between the data, the user, and the results. And the findings of the search may prompt the user to fire up a new search based on what was found in the first search. As I noted before, an exploratory search may be ongoing. So there should be a way to save a search, not just the results, but the state, including all the filters applied and other context added. And it could be helpful to keep the search live so it can be updated as the source information changes. Okay, so all those aspects of exploratory search have been implemented in some way. I don't know, well, most of them probably. And you would have recognized them in systems that you've interacted with. E-commerce systems, say, allow you to do a good deal of exploring. In fact, I could probably do very good exploratory search just using the various tools that are included in the catalog. Or I could link up with Evernote or something. But how do I get my users to do that? I feel like it's getting them to swim upstream. Lookup search is just so easy, so seamless. The challenge for exploratory search is to become easier, more intuitive, to be as frictionless as possible, to get the system to do most of the work. We need to UX the shit out of it. I'll put up a few examples of how I think progress could be made. Firstly, I'll note that there have been several standalone search systems that take an exploratory approach, but they all eventually wither away from lack of use and end up just pointing to DuckDuckGo. So I think a good approach is to offer an exploratory interface as an adjunct alternative to a lookup search, rather than a standalone system, or as augmentations to a lookup search. So my next bit of advice seems flippantly obvious. Provide context-sensitive advice to how to enrich your search. But if the algorithm could look ahead to the benefits of a certain change in the search parameters, exercising some insight, and then communicating this to the user, that could be hugely helpful. To break away from the paradigm of a ranked list, exploratory search could use alternative presentations, including visual representations. For example, to emphasize clustering of results around subjects. There are many ways in which the interface could be innovated. And lastly, couldn't some of that effort that has gone into looking inside users' heads instead be used to help us understand how a person might explore a subject? I don't know, that might not actually be a very welcome suggestion. But there we go. That's exploratory search in a nutshell. If you're interested in discussing this further, please DM me, or you can come to me directly with my contact details. Thank you all so much. Thank you.